Welcome. Domain Dave from cheapwinefinder.com. If you haven't been here before, what we do is we write up a wine review. We write about value-priced wines. We go upscale in November and December, but most time we keep it under $20. And we've been doing it since 2008. We don't really write about cheap wines. We write about good wines that don't cost a lot of money. Cheap wine was a internet slang, cheap hotel, cheap TV, cheap whatever, airfare, and cheap wine. But it didn't mean you wanted something that wasn't very good. You wanted the best for less, which kind of resonated with us. So what we have here today is a Costco wine. It's $8.99. It's the Kirkland Signature Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon 2021. You know, Costco doesn't offer details about the wine, but the label does say a few things. It always offers something. And the winemaker is Brandon Rice, who happens to be the winemaker for Wahluke Wine Company. Wahluke Slope is one of the AVAs of Columbia Valley and is owned by Jerry Milbrandt. And Jerry Milbrandt's part of the Milbrandt family vineyards, who are elite vineyard growers, grape growers in Columbia Valley. They have had grapes that made 100-point wines. And they make their own wine. They do the whole thing. This is kind of like their bulk wine, specialty brand wine, jack of all trades section of it. And so this is good sourcing. You know, they are very well known for their grapes. And the other thing that the label says is that this is a Cabernet Sauvignon that has been in oak for 16 months. Which doesn't always happen for an $8.99 Cabernet Sauvignon. And there's a reason for that, because to have a wine that will stand up to 16 months of oak, you have to have more tannins, you have to have more extraction, you have to have more acidity, all the chemical compounds in the grape, which you have to extract from it after pressing and, soaking and all the things they do to it, have to be able to stand up, because the oak in 16 months is going to be has to balance that. 16 months for the oak is usually in this, in the $8.99 range. It's maybe 4 months in oak and half it's used, and so that's not. It's only 4 months in oak doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not going to. Just going to have less. The wine's going to come together quicker because it needs less. Extraction, needs less tannins, it needs less oak. Everything's going to come together so you can sell it, and it's balanced sooner rather than later, where after 16 months you're going to need to take some time, because time is one thing you can't fake in wine. So this is a $8.99 wine that is a little bit different from what you're normally going to get. And because it is 16 months in oak, the one thing you're going to have to do when you get this one is you're going to have to make sure it opens up. When I first tasted it, it was like, this is kind of watery. There's no flavor. What's going on here? It was like, oh no, what am I going to write about? I don't really want, if the wine's horrible, I don't write about it. I don't want to ruin anybody. I try to turn people on to good wine. And then it opened up and it was like, oh, okay, good. I'm going to take a sip. It is lighter in the palate than I would expect for 16 months in oak, but it's got good spice and it's got nice flavors. It's a very tasty wine once it opens up. That's another thing about wine, and they always say, you don't need to open it, you don't need to do a decanter, and I don't like a decanter because they're hard to clean, and all these things you can pour the wine through and they swirl. They're a pain in the butt to clean too. I mean, I just rather figure out the old-fashioned way. But inexpensive wine need all the help they get. You need to open them up. I mean, you definitely need to open up a wine that's been in oak for 2 months or 2 years. I mean, not 2 months, because that needs to be. But inexpensive wine, that needs to be too. So make sure you open these things up so you get the full flavor, because there's nothing worse than a wine where half the flavor is missing. And then you get like the spices, like, oh, the spice is really kind of crunchy. What's going on here? But then once the flavor comes in and it balances out, which it happens here, and you get this blackberry and this black cherry and maybe toasty vanilla. A little pull from the tannins on the mid palate. Yeah, it's actually a nice little wine, but you got to open it up. And that's a lesson to be learned here. Just because it's $8.99 doesn't mean you can pop the top and pour. It is a little lighter in the, like I said, lighter in the palate than I would expect for a wine that had the extraction and the aging of 16 months. But that's fine, especially if it tastes good. And it does taste good, and it kind of it's got the spices, it got a rough edge to it, and the fruit's kind of like sweet and delicious. Not sweet and sugar sweet, nectar sweet. So it does have a couple things going. Then the lighter thing on the palate's kind of a little bit strange for Cabernet. So it's an interesting wine. It's not what I always expected, but what I don't always expect. It's pretty good when you're drinking wine. You don't want the same old, same old. I just took the third sip because all during the writing of the review, I was thinking this isn't right, and then it got right just as I was getting the tasting portion. So there's a lesson to be learned here. Open up the wine. And actually, I'm thinking I do have the swirling things that you can use. I might start bringing those out for the bigger red wines. Sauvignon Blanc and some Chardonnays, maybe you don't have to, and the lighter white wines, maybe you can pop the top and pour on that. But I always say, make sure it's the best it could be. Why drink a wine before it's time? Well, that's it for me, Domain Dave from CheapWineFighter.com. And this wasn't what I started to talk about, but this is the Kirkland Signature Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon 2021. $8.99 is well worth the price. As long as you open it up and make sure the wine's open and balanced and flavorful, and then that's a nice little wine. So that's it for me. Keep it cheap. I'm not sure where we're going next. We're getting in September, the fall. We'll have to start looking for fall wines. But like I said, we've been doing this since 2008. We'll find something. So adios, keep it cheap, and I'll be talking to everybody later. Bye-bye.